countries and many different walks of life. So really, to me, it's the friendships. And, Mark and I actually went golfing, even though we didn't have a golf outing this year, and we had a great time. So you do develop a lot of good friendships within the club. And so really, yeah, I consider it the social aspect as much as anything.
Okay, thank you.
Brian,
and,
I have a question.
Yes, okay. I was going to go to Gwen, but yeah, jump in,
Okay.
Conrad.
Oh, really?
Jump in,
Okay.
Conrad. Yep.
Okay, sure. Thanks. This is probably for anyone who has been in a leadership role in that panel. So I know I've been in a leadership role for a long, long time with different people, and this is at work. Now, doing a leadership role now in a voluntary organization, I find it distinctly different and so difficult. And so how do you, whoever has been in a leadership role, be able to overcome those difficulties?
And we'll put that out to anybody on the panel who wants to answer.
I'll just jump in here for a moment if I can, and then you, Mel, sorry for interrupting. But over my working career, I've been in many different companies and organizations and held many different positions. And I've managed a team of people. I've been part of a team, and and Conrad is absolutely correct. When you have people directly reporting to you, you have some accountability for it, and you can expect certain types of results. In a voluntary organization, it is a bit more challenging, but you just have to have faith and confidence that everybody's there in good spirit and really will do their best to take direction, because they hopefully are there for the same reasons that people like myself are, that I want to learn from this experience, and hopefully it'll provide me value in my business, my professional and personal life. Amal, you can jump in now.
Well said, Bob. I guess I'm gonna kind of reiterate the same, more or less. Is, well, we're measured, our effectiveness as leaders is measured based on our influence, our motivation. It's similar to you leading people walking somewhere. You're not responsible for who's walking with a certain speed and who's walking and resting for a few minutes, then keep walking. You're leading the entire cohort. It's back to the same statement. Each one is responsible for his goals and accomplishment. We're we're not we're not responsible for each other achievements. We're helping, we're motivating, we're encouraging. The bulk work, the leg work stays with each and every one. It's his own improvement, in my opinion.
Okay, let's go to Gwen. You had a question.
Thanks, Brian. I'm going to take a pause, but my question is for each and every one of the panelists, as well as Brian, if you were to sum up your Toastmaster journey in just one word, what would that word be?
I will start, and I will say growth. Bob?
Development.
Gerks?
I'll go learning, so similar to you guys.
Mark?
Go with fulfilling.
Amal?
Go is one of my 3 words. Sponge. Absorb knowledge, information, and share everything all together.
Okay. Now, can I go to somebody either who has just joined the club today, who is a guest?
There's two people, Sharon and Nishad, that have their hands raised.
That's good. I couldn't see that, Josh. Before I go to Sharon or Ashok, let's go to, though, as I was offering, James or a guest. James, you're new today, or a guest?
Sure. I guess if I could ask Gerks a question, I'd like to do that.
Yep.
You said at the beginning that you're an engineer by trade, and I was curious about how your involvement in Toastmasters has helped you to improve your relationship with like clients or coworkers in a professional setting in that kind of environment.
Absolutely. So can you hear me? Just a thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm an engineer by trade, and to tell you the truth, I've told this numerous times to the club. I just graduated 2 years ago. So I just graduated in 2020. And as I'm not sure how, I know Mark is an engineer. I know there's another few engineers, but they don't teach you soft skills in school. So for example, you can give us a book and crack open a thermodynamics book and we can do that. But communication is really what sets you on top. So for example, I did a few work terms while I was in school. One of which was, so I was working in a factory. It was a packaging factory. And what I had to do was organize an inventory system for them. And I would do that, and it was a really boring job, but I would do it, and I would spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day to do it. And then at the end of it, I had it all done, and then I kind of gave it to the manager. And then on the very last day, he came to me and he's like, "So what'd you do for 3 months?" And I was like, "Oh, I did the inventory system." He's like, "Where is it?" And then he's like, "You need to put together a report." So I was like, "Okay." And what I found was what you can do is you can apply all this like logic, and you can go and you can apply all these processes, and you can try and make it as efficient as possible, reorganize it, whatever. But ultimately what it comes down to is your communication and your ability to write that report and your ability to showcase what you did. So whether that be presenting in front of your manager at work, to your supervisor at school, or to whoever it might be, just the ability to present effectively, to be using something as simple as colors effectively. Because me personally, I'm not that great at using colors. Like I'll do the work and whatever, but to showcase it somehow is the most important thing. And you'll see that like in school, you don't really see that, right? But once you move on, just writing an email to your boss or to your boss's boss, just a status update and things like that, you just know that you just start to see how important those things are, trying to make it concise. Like I can give you one specific example. We had a course where we had to provide a course evaluation, and it was a tremendous course, but there was 3 things that really bothered me about it. And I really, like, I wanted to give it to him because it really bothered me. But what I did was I used the method of good, better, best. Yeah, so good, what he did well, right? What he could have done better. And I gave it to him in that better, right? I gave him those 3 things. And best, so what he did the best. So if you're not familiar, every evaluation, you do these 3 things. Brian has his own patented method and Josh has his own patented method. But it essentially boils down to what you did really well, what you could have done better, good, better, and then the best. You end off the best. You end off on a high note. So I used that, and it really helped me. Yeah, I hope this helped you, James. Great question, by the way.
That was fantastic. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool stuff.
Keep those in mind for sure.
Let's go to Nishat now. I think Nishat, you had a question.
That's right. Thank you, Brian. My question is actually a really basic one, kind of logistical as well, if I may say so. I was wondering what made you decide that this club was the club for you, and was like, now that we're doing this online and not in person, do you think that the location or its accessibility from where you stay or where you work should be like a criteria for choosing a club at all? Could you comment on that for me, please?
I'll comment on that, and it's really what's comfortable for you, because it's very good idea for you to explore multiple clubs. I didn't necessarily do that myself, but we've had different people who've done that, and really, this club is very refreshing in the fact that it's like family in a sense. So you have to. It's just like picking a psychiatrist or any or somebody like that. It's like, who do you feel comfortable with? Because, you know, you walk in the door, you know, are people there welcoming you? And when this club, you know, was meeting in person, it's like, boy, just one big happy family. So it really is, you know, picking what's right for you. Because yeah, it's nice if you're, you know, 10 minutes away. Absolutely, when we are hopefully going to be able to meet sometime in 2022 and see people. But it's really, what do you feel comfortable with? Because starting at 6:45, if you have to drive 45 minutes each way to go to an in-person meeting, you know, that may not be the best thing for you. So probably close proximity. I mean, virtual right now, it'll probably go on for 6 more months, who knows? But it's, who do you feel comfortable with? But try, you know, some other clubs now while you're evaluating. But it's definitely, you know, where do you feel most comfortable?
Cool stuff. Thank you, Bob.
Can I just
And
weigh in, Brian?
I'm sorry. Yep.
Can I weigh in, if that's
Yep.
okay?
Mark, and then we're going to take one more question, and then I'll close out.
Okay, I
Go.
would say that in picking a club, for me, the most important thing was having a large enough club that you would have an audience for your speeches. So some of these clubs are pretty small. Maybe that's not as big a deal with the fact we meet virtually now, but I like to have an audience, and confidently speaking, you're going to have, like, you know, minimum 20 people there. So that's a factor for me. The other thing is, when you meet in person, we meet in a hotel. Many clubs meet in much less.
Mark has frozen on us.
That was important. So you have your own criteria, I'm sure, but can you hear me?
Yep, you froze on us for a second there, Mark.
Anyway, I will pass it back to you, Brian.
Okay, and one last question, Sharon. I believe that you were wanting to ask a question.
Actually, it's been answered. But
Oh, it's been answered.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a question from James, Brian.
James, okay.
Gazzola.
Mr. Gazzola, your question, sir.
Thank you, Brian. This question is for, I'd be happy to hear from a couple of the panelists. My question is this: regular weekly attendance at Toastmasters is key to maintain your momentum with your speaking goals. The reality is we all lead very busy lives, and so it's easy to skip out when things get hectic. So how have you been able to make this a priority in your life without letting your attendance slip and potentially fall victim to leaving the club? How have you stayed engaged on a weekly basis?
Let's start with them all on that one.
One of the key things that worked well for me is to sign myself up for some roles on weekly basis, on a regularly basis, and just skip the weeks. I am 100% sure I'm not gonna make it because I have another commitment. This really worked very good for me. Sometimes I would text one of the club members to kind of just say, hey, I'm not gonna make it, or something like this. One thing I should really say, big thank you to Cindy, because a couple of times she has been pushing me to take over roles that I wasn't ready for it at all. But sometimes a little bit pressure is good.
Cool, thank you. And one other panelist to answer that question. Gerks, maybe you want to take that?
Sure. So your question was, how do you push yourself? So to be honest with you, with me, I know myself very well, is I can make up an excuse for myself, but the best thing to do is always sign up for a role the week prior. And what I like about this group of people like Cstm is they won't let you go. So he'll open up the whole gallery and he'll be like, okay, Brian, Bob, Poonam, what's your plans for next week? You guys gonna be here? So like sometimes you're like, I don't want to come, let's like stay quiet. But what they'll do is they'll push you. Best thing to do is to take a role. And sometimes, you know what, like Amal said, once in 2 months, once in 3 months, it's okay to take a break. Personally, for me, what I felt is, you know what, if you're not feeling up to, you know, trying to prepare yourself for a chair speech or trying to prepare yourself for a prepared speech, take one of the easier roles, right? So I think one of our members always mentions, Some roles require less preparation relative to others. For example, evaluator role is probably one of the